And because generally where I work is I travel to a bunch of places, and while I'm there I set up shop. I used to think that I was a tourist. Well, I stay places 3 or 4 months, so I kind of live there. I have a dry cleaners, I have a laundry, I have a routine, I know people, I see tourists, I give them directions. No, really, it was like I was in London. I was like, no, that's the long way. Go. I think, so I lived in London for 4 months when I worked on the beginning of a Gideon series from a while back. And then I lived in Argentina for about 4 months. And last year I worked on another novel called A Wanted Woman, and I lived in Barbados for like 8-9 months. Yeah, and when I say that I hadn't been to my home in LA in 8 months, when I passed through there, and it was like I was there a couple of days. I flew in, probably on book tour, stayed at my home for a couple of days, then I was right back out. So it's kind of cool, because now my friends call me up. They just hang out at my house. I have no idea what's going on. I just have to call them. I will be back next week. Yeah, it's pretty good. I hadn't thought about it though. So for me, writing has been an adventure. I mean, I love that wanderlust. Traveling, trying to incorporate different cultures for me to create different characters, and hopefully the stories that I do feel accessible yet different enough. I don't want to do the sameness that a lot of other writers do. As he was saying, like with One Night, it started off. Wow, it was a concept that it was kind of hard to explain to the editor, the publisher. So I want everything to happen. First, I want everything to happen in a day, and then I pared it down to 12 hours, and to get 2 people who basically happen to be at the same place in the world at the same moment to meet each other and take off on this adventure that for me, I wanted to go through all the things that a couple can go through in a relationship, bring them from meeting to that change of being attracted to each other, to other things that happen through the night, other adventures that happen, to end up being romantic, to I'm kind of doubtful about where we're going with this now kind of thing. Are you seeing other people kind of thing, and based on the reviews, I kind of pulled off what I tried to do, and I actually did it better than I thought I had done it. Yeah, because all the reviews really surprised me, because usually, I said now I've probably read maybe 20 reviews. Usually, you'll get 18 lines of, it was a good book, and then it's that 19th line, but it would have been better if I haven't seen that at all. Wow. And for this one, I haven't seen it at all. It's almost as if like the first 21 books were practice, then I finally got it right. With that, I'm going to read some of the beginning of One Night, if that's okay with you guys. And it's from a female's point of view. Her name is Jackie. Wow. This is my second night. It's just start with a concept in your room somewhere, and starting with a couple of words, and then it becomes this, and it goes from your room to around the world every year. That just blows me away. It's like I'm in Barbados working on this, even though it takes place in LA. And then to get email from people in London. I'm reading your book right now. It's just really, it's the magic. To me, it's still magical. It's still magical. People have taken pictures of my novels. They're like in Istanbul on vacation. Because they will do, little cutout things people will do. So they do with my books. It's like up in front of signs and stuff like that. And I post it out on Facebook. Because for me, it's just really just amazing. I have a Russian friend on Facebook who I've never met. You know how friends are now. We have friends that we will never meet. She's in Russia. She has my book. And it's that thing. It's hard to get in Russia. She speaks English, but she goes through whatever channel she has to do to make it happen. So for her, it's even more special because there's no Russian bookstore she can walk in and grab off the shelf. You know what I mean? So yeah, so this is an import. Yeah, so it's just really just, and even just, I know I'm rambling, but just like starting out in 96, you just didn't see this happening. But I think for me, it's just basically continue working, staying at it, continue trying to grow, doing the things for me that keep me from being bored at my job. Because before this, I was in aerospace. I worked in aerospace. And I love the job, I love the people, I love the interaction. But I worked on the same project, on the same software for 9 years. You know what I mean? So yeah, so it was the same software for 9 years. So what I've done here, since I've changed careers, like each year I've done something different. And I can look at a novel, again, like the Gideon series, I can look at that. That was my time in London. Or I look at An Accidental Affair, even though it takes place in LA, that was my time in the Bahamas. I stayed in the Bahamas for 4 months while I was working on that. So each novel has a different meaning for me. You know what I mean? It's that thing I can hold up and I can see what I've done each year. I can put it on the shelf and I can look at everything I've done since 1996. But in spite, when I was laid off from software engineering, it was just get your box and walk out the door. Well, the stuff I worked on, no, you cannot take that with you. I can't prove I worked here. No, you can't. Okay, I'm gonna stop rambling. Okay, again, this is the beginning of One Night, and the character is Jackie. It's my voice, but it's close the book. We're not at church. Close it. I skip around some. No, she's reading. Well, your cover is upside down. It's fine. No, Jackie is dyslexic. Okay. And if you're reading it, instead of chapter numbers, we have timestamps. And each chapter, more or less, takes that amount of time in your life. So from 6:31 p.m. to 6:31 a.m., if you read it, it will take approximately 12 hours, and you're with them each moment of what they go through. Yeah, and it actually works out. Oh, and the reason I say it is because I was hoping it worked out. I was telling Pam earlier, my friend, that for each page, I actually sat and said, oh, this is about a minute, this is about a minute, this is about 30 seconds. Something happened, but the bulk of this is narrative, so this is the thought process. And the thought process doesn't necessarily take as long as it does on page. But I'm giving you the reason she makes that decision. So like, 'cause I told Pam, for example, like you see someone who reminds you of someone that you don't like, and you just instantly just turn away. People, but in your mind, you just went through stuff that happened in high school, and you just like them. I don't like people like that. Shifty, deuces, it's like, you know what I mean, right? You know what I mean? Or yeah. So, okay. 6:31 p.m. And then sirens interrupted my unlawful transaction. Law enforcement sped in our direction. I winced, cursed, shivered. The Hawaiian Gardens Police Department and the Sheriff's Department were coming to arrest me. The abruptness of the sound of so many sirens caused my body to shake, caused adrenaline rush, triggered my fight or flight mode. The prolonged scream of sirens became louder, came closer. The darkness that had arrived long before 5 o'clock in the afternoon deepened as a perpetual winter rain, cold as ice cubes, intensified the misery on this frigid, colorless night. I turned and confronted the man in the expensive gray suit. He was tense, twitching as if he also experienced the sudden heat that came from fear, from fight or flight. But a man dressed like he was would never have anything to run from. He looked like he knew the cops were coming here. I snapped, "Are you with the police? Are you a cop?" Winter rain was being spat from the miserable skies. Traffic was bumper to bumper. There was no way I could get to the truck that fast, nowhere to run, and the sirens called my name as they sped closer. Closer. The truck. They were coming for me because of the stupid truck. Brows furrowed, the well-dressed man made fists and turned toward the whales. I wasn't ready for this. I didn't have an exit plan, not under these conditions. A winter storm had been going on since morning and had caused at least 600 traffic accidents in 3 hours. At least 5 of those were within spitting distance. Traffic was a bitch with PMS, and the diehards were out Christmas shopping. Cars, SUVs, pickup trucks, minivans, and hearses clogged the entrance to the Long Beach Town Center and every strip mall that made up this waterlogged city. That made it impossible for me to get back in my ride and speed away. And if I did manage to get to the truck, well, the world before me crept toward the 605 at 3 miles per hour. And the traffic heading in the opposite direction in Carson couldn't be breaking 5. And as the sirens sang, my frustration was like a slow ride into hell in a flooding dystopia. Closer, closer. The man in the suit remained tense, his jaw tight, not blinking, his body language speaking of nothing but trouble. This was unexpected. Fear arrested me. I almost let my weapon slide down to my hand. Closer, closer, closer. Then patrol cars sped by with their fiery lights flashing, raced toward Lakewood, toward Long Beach. We were underneath the shelter between 2 gas pumps, and behind us was a non-stop line of traffic, a line that stretched in both directions of the 605 and deeper into Hawaiian Gardens. The man in the suit took a hard breath, opened and closed his right hand, his face thunderous. Voice trembling, feeling my fear, I asked, "Now, where were we?" He said, "You parked your truck and came to me with an interesting proposition." I said, "Yeah, I can let the MacBook Pro I have go for $700, cash." He said, "Really? $700 for a stolen MacBook Pro?" Now, once again, it's the 15-inch, and this sells at the Apple Store for over $2,000. See, if you get it for $700, you saved at least $1,300. He said, "You don't save money by spending money." I said, "Well, that'll never be on a billboard on Sunset Boulevard. Saving is bad for the economy." "Really? You expect to get that much for a stolen computer that has no warranty?" "Well, okay, how much are you willing to give me?" $100. "Dude, you crazy! This has the latest generation Intel processor, all new graphics, faster flash storage, and retina display. This bad boy has over 5 million pixels. That's better than HD TV. The battery lasts up to 8 hours. Oh, don't tell me you're a PC guy. You look too hip to be a PC guy." His left eye was bruised. Maybe he had been mugged or involved in a Christmas brawl. See, customers threw hard blows for $2 holiday sales at Walmart, and there was one right up the street. It's not packed. But his suit and car were made for Rodeo Drive. He considered something beyond me, glanced at the battered old white Nissan truck I was driving. He said, "Best Buy sent you to do deliveries in that truck." I said, "I had to drive my own vehicle tonight. Company cutbacks." See, a few minutes earlier, I had driven from my resting spot by the town center and the Edgewood Cinema into a Chevron station. There were 17 gas pumps, all but 3 occupied, and the 24-hour subway attached to the gas station was just as busy. I had pulled up to pump number 17, stopped opposite pump number 12, and this brother in his modern gray suit. When I eased out of the truck, he was holding a gas hose. His shoulders hunched like he'd never been rained on a day in his life. I put on a cheerleader smile, walked halfway up to him, bouncy and perky like Katie Couric. Told him that his look was real nice. Used that praise as an opener. Then engaged him with a flirty smile and started a conversation. I eased closer, whispered that I had a MacBook Pro to sell, asked him if he might be interested in a deal. He had paused, inspected me. My wig was long and loose, like a bad hair day, and I wore a stolen yellow polo shirt and Dockers that had come with the same 5-finger discount, both too big, and a stolen Best Buy badge on my jean pocket. He stepped closer and asked me to repeat what I had said, and I told him I had a new laptop in the truck, asked him if he wanted to buy it before I sold it to someone else. I told him the price, then sirens had echoed and passed. Now we were back to haggling in the rain. He evaluated me from shoes to eyes and asked, "Are you Egyptian?" "Am I Egyptian? Are we in Egypt?" He said, "You look Egyptian." I said, "I'm part broke and part black, all mixed with hard times and frustration." He looked down his nose at my uniform, my face. He said, "Your tongue is pierced." "Yeah, so what?" "What do you do at Best Buy?" "Look, that's not important. You want to buy the MacBook Pro or not?" A frigid breeze kicked in and chilled his condescending attitude. His phone buzzed. He held it up, read a message, then scowled at traffic. I asked, "Need to go so soon?" A long text message from my wife. "You okay? You look like you just received bad news." "She just arrived at a hospital." "Is she okay?" "Distraught. A family member had an accident, someone close to both of our families." "What, do you need to go to her?" "I'm not a doctor. Nothing I can do but watch her break down and cry." "Wow, need to text her back?" "She's type A. Not a woman many men could date, let alone marry, because she's always stressed out. She will have a fit if I don't respond right away, because for her, everything's urgent. So I won't respond." I said, "Wow, type A. She's the type of person who loves to win at everything." "She is." "You know how she is, and you're gonna leave her anxious? Man, that's cold." He said, "Yeah, cold like winter in Siberia." I said, "Dude, do you want the computer or not? You're making me miss out on other customers." He said, "Tell me again, how did you manage to get a brand new MacBook Pro?" I turned up my jacket collar, shifted from one hard-toe shoe to the other, and I told him I worked the stock room over in Hawthorne, just east of the 405. It was a rainy Wednesday night, and I had been sent on deliveries. Despite Amazon ruling the world, I told him Best Buy still did drop-offs. The man in the gray suit asked, "No, how did you manage to come across that laptop?" "Told you, they had an extra one. I went over the electronics invoice and it's not listed, so it has fallen into a black hole. I never signed for this one. It won't be reported. It will simply vanish from the database. My dilemma is to decide if I'm going to take it back and get somebody in trouble for the screw up, or see this as a sign from God and sell it and make enough money to pay my rent this month." "You're short on your rent." "Most of my income goes to paying rent like everybody else in LA. I'm always short." See, I had said too much. That admission gave him bargaining power. Another police car zoomed by, forced angry people to pull to the right, made a bad traffic evening a lot more frustrating. The siren was so loud I had to wait for the downside of the noise to go on talking. He asked, "How much is your rent?" I said, "Dude, it's cold out here and it's raining. Half of the people in LA are coughing and the other half have the flu. So before I end up getting sick as a dog, dude, do you want to buy the MacBook Pro or not?" "Might be a way I could help you out." I said, "Dude, I'm only bargaining with the laptop. Nothing else is for sale." He said, 300, take it or leave it. 6, that's my bottom line. "Well, then you better take that stolen computer to eBay." I was about to curse him out, but he pulled his wallet out and let me see a fresh row of greenbacks inside. And I couldn't remember when I had that much cash that wasn't being used to pay a bill. I said, "Come on, you can afford the 6. The laptop costs over $2,000. Come on, don't rip me off." He said I could afford to go to the Apple store and buy a brand new one with a full warranty. Come on, do better than 300. 300 is below Black Friday prices. "You're a pretty woman." "Yeah, I'm almost as pretty as that silver wedding ring on your left hand." "You're wearing a pretty nice ring yourself." "On my right hand?" "Why is it on your right hand?" "Because it won't fit on the middle finger of my left hand." "But that is a wedding ring, right?" "Your ring is on your left hand, dude. That means you bought the cow." He said, "Yours on the right hand means," "It means I'm no one's cow. So, dude, where's your cow? Where's the woman you make go move?" He said, "We're estranged." I guess that would be the best way to put it at the moment. At the moment. What, you're estranged until you get home? Then you make her go move? It's been a long day for me. A long day with lots of driving, anger, too much drama, and this traffic is starting to look like they're evacuating LA. We're both going to be trapped in this dull city, so why don't we go somewhere warm and dry and grab a bite to eat and talk about it? I said, dude, why don't you buy your wife this laptop? Maybe stop by 7-Eleven and pick her up a hot dog, find her some crotchless lingerie at the 99-cent store, go to RedTube, role play, and I guarantee you that by tomorrow evening, you two will be tight. He said, mind if I take a look at the merchandise first? I said, it's hot off the press and it's still factory sealed, so yeah, I mind the box being open. I said, mind if I check out the 5 million pixels and the retina display that's better than HD TV? I said, dude, I'm in a rush. You can open the box when you get home. Oh, I can't do it now. I can't open what you're selling me from Best Buy now? His tone darkened, sent a chill up my spine. He repeated, open the box. Let me turn the computer on. Okay, stop. That's it. So that's the opening of one night. So 2 people meeting, because they have such a lovely relationship. Say it again.
What a chance.
What a chance, yeah. You know, so that's how it starts, you know, and it a lot of turns, a lot of twists, a lot of everything after that. Best way to put it. You know? So I hope you get it and you'll truly enjoy it. You know, it's funny because I've written a lot of stuff over the years and a lot of stuff I didn't use. And years ago I did this novel called Thieves Paradise. Anybody familiar with Thieves Paradise? Okay, we had done Thieves Paradise years ago, and I had 2 characters in there. Thieves Paradise, yeah. Dante scams, Pam, Big Slim, Pool Hall, all that. And what I had done was I had written I'm always trying to figure out how people meet in stories. So like Friends and Lovers, like how the couples met, is always important to me, where people come from, how they meet, you know. And I had written a scene where Dante met Scams. And it was, Dante was doing the rocks in the box at the gas station. So this was that scene from years ago that I didn't use. And I took it, changed the gender, added other stuff to it, kept the same location in Hawaiian Gardens. So that scene, not exactly like that, not to that length, because once you make it male, female, there are other dynamics that you can play with. It's just something I had, and it worked out a lot better than it would have been in that story back then, you know. So yeah, I mean, just that part about this is all that I'm not trying to say. Dante couldn't do that, you know. This is a different kind of book, you know. Yeah. So anyway, so you guys have any questions? I don't really say a lot of stuff, but no questions? No?
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
One. In that part which you read, here are 2 folks that are black. They hear the cops coming. What should they be doing? Should they get in the car and get out of there?
Again,
go inside? What?
No, it's a day. No, well, you know, it's funny. This was written. Wow. Probably a year ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, with all the stuff if it had been written post a couple of other things, I probably would have, whatever. It's actually, I think it does get, it's mentioned later on. It's not the focus of the story. In that situation, when it's you know, for black, it's just, you know, stop, drop, and roll. And hope for the best, you know. No, I mean, for that, I mean, it's like traffic working, you know, she said, where can you go? It's 6:05, everything is, you know how it is on those rainy days here in California when you got traffic and you can't go anywhere. The freeway's a parking lot. There were no options for her, and the truck she's in is stolen.
Yeah.
That's why she's really concerned about it's the truck. It's because of the truck. She stole it from up the street and drove down the street to do another crime. You know what I mean? Because she doesn't want anybody to see her car. You know what I mean? With not giving away too much there, you know. So, and you'll see where she is in her life as you read through. She's at a point, things have happened where this feels like the only option she has right now, you know. Yeah, because she's a woman who has she's a character who has many occupations, but things have happened that have basically crippled her, and she can't she's having a hard time functioning.
Okay, so she's in a dark spot right now.
Yeah, she's in a she's in a difficult spot. She's in a difficult
So
spot.
she's
You know what I
in
mean?
a survival mode.
Yeah, and so it's one of those things where other things haven't worked out, haven't sorted out.
Just gotta breathe.
Yeah, it's this sort of thing. It's different when it's when the landlord says, "Yeah, if I don't have that rent by tomorrow, things don't change." You know. So right, so you get out and do something desperate because basically you're trying to do something so you can have another 30-day buffer because you think that because every 30 days you think I'm gonna be better, so you're trying to get another 30-day buffer. That was the way I felt about it as I was writing it, and a lot of it is when I start writing, I don't really know who the characters are, and as the story progresses, I add stuff, delete stuff. It's like working with clay. You start to shape stuff. A lot of stuff gets cut out. Probably the book was probably at least a third longer because we start cutting stuff out because what happens is as I get closer to the end of a story, I know better what the story is about. So as I go through the edit, I know what I don't need anymore because sometimes I will have stuff where I think, well, I'll write stuff in where I leave it open for me to go in another direction if I need to. Then I don't use it, so I just cut it out, make the story tighter. And again, it'll be like that opening scene was something from Thieves Paradise that when I went back through, we cut it out because it wasn't needed, and it works well here. So stuff that I cut out, I save. And actually, a lot of time before I start working on something else, I have this huge stack of stuff. I just sit there and go through each page and see if something jumps out at me, a scene, and I'll say, oh, I never use this. Then I'll highlight with a block around it, and I'll have this stack of stuff over here that as I'm working on something, it may get incorporated into something like that. And a lot of times, it's nothing really great, but it's just something that I wrote that I said, oh, it's sort of like this. It was interesting to me 2 years ago, and I look at it, it's still interesting to me. Now I have a lot of stuff that I wrote that I was like, oh, I never should have wrote that. Never should have written that. Oh, that was a horrible idea. But you have to go. That's part of writing. You go through that to get to the stuff, to the keepers, to the stuff you want to keep. Yes, ma'am. Go ahead.
Do you ever do like weekend or one day writing seminars?
I've never done one. And people have asked me that all the time.
The way you're explaining how you go out and do it, it's a teaching experience.
Oh, thank you. And all I know is what I do, what works for me. I've never been comfortable trying to direct, so do things the way I do it. You know what I mean? You have to do. There needs to be a foundation and an understanding. In that foundation, that's understanding. The craft. So it works for me when I start to do another story. And like for this one, it's like I want it to happen in 12 hours. So in one of the earlier drafts, after there was a couple more chapters, then they went their separate ways, and then it became the next week. And then you write it as a writer, you say, like, this doesn't work anymore. That next week, okay, we have to keep going. We have to keep going. That moment has to keep going, and see what happens, So I think there was one point I hadn't even broken it up in chapters. At one point I had like 80 pages of just them together just doing stuff. And I had to go back through and break it up. So what time is it? What time does it start? And then I started Googling, what time does the sun go down in LA in the winter? You know what I mean? Okay. Yeah, it's because I was trying to get the accurate, what time does the sun go down? So I wanted it to be dark. What time does the sun come up? So this is what time the book has to end. Because we're not going into the next day's sunlight. So it's outside, it's dark the whole story. I guess that's a metaphor too. I never thought about that.
Kind of engineered your book.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's funny because I had on my, 1 year I put on my tax returns, I was an imagination engineer. They didn't get it, so I just went back and said, okay, writer. Was too complex for you because for me, writing a story has always been engineering. I mean, I have to create characters. I mean, I have to bit by bit create this female character, bit by bit create this male character, and for the sake of the story, they can't be alike. So I have one from the LA County, one from one from Orange County, which I guess for here would be, and that could be off. Someone's from San Francisco, someone's from Oakland. You know what I mean? So, and then sort of highlight different mentality in a particular way. He's well-to-do, and she's trying to get her rent paid. So they're two different, but at the same time, they both have issues. Because she sees a guy in the suit in the car, and it's assumed, what could possibly be wrong in your life? And at the end of the day, she's like, I am so glad I have my life. Because your life is never. Like that. Yeah. I mean, so as you're writing, as I'm writing, it's just created, and you don't. I've seen a lot of people who will write, and they're so gentle with their characters. It's like they're afraid for anything to happen to the characters, because it's almost and I don't get it. You have to have the characters do stuff, go through stuff. I mean, in my opinion, I don't spare any. I've never spared any character in any novel. That's what they are created for. I've created some characters in the Gideon series, the antagonist, that I was like, oh, I love this antagonist. I wish they could live to another book. But they don't. I mean, you know what I mean? You're right. The rest of it is either you or Gideon, and and Gideon's name is on the book, so guess what? You're the co-star. But it's I mean, but that's the thing. It's like I create Jackie. I like the character that I created, but then I have to do some damage. You know what I mean? Not in a physical way, but in a way to. It's like every time you create a character, every character wants something, and you have to put things in the way of happiness. And that's what tugs at the reader's heartstrings. We see people trying to get to a particular place, and we're cheering for them. And just when we think they're there, something else happens, but they keep going, and that's sort of the way, and you have to do it in a novel in a structured way, because in life that can go on forever. You know what I mean? But in the book, it's still a three-part story: beginning, middle, and end, just like basic English. Yeah. Anyone else? Yes, ma'am.
Well, I was going to say about writing strong female characters. I know you have an affinity for writing female characters, obviously. What does it take? What do you think it takes, for you to develop these characters, and what do you think, goes into the creation of a strong female character? Because a lot of people shy away from that, and they kind of keep it as a shallow, superficial, person, but they don't really go into the in-depth of what it actually takes to be a strong woman in this society.
I think part of what you said is the answer: to keep away from the shallow and superficial. I mean, honestly, because again, everyone wants something. They go by a different way of getting it. Even for the female characters, if I'm writing a character who's 16, 32, 48, they're at three different places in life. You know what I mean? I don't know. There's nothing magical. I don't know. But for me, it's a favorite character. Just trying to be fair. Just trying to be fair. I've seen some female writers who write male characters in a way that makes me not want to read the book. Because the characters are so one-dimensional. The guys are they're just a guy in the book. They don't come to life. They're never human. So I spend a lot of time with the characters, trying to make them feel human. I mean, like, who are the parents? Where they go to school? How much education do they have? And what's her speaking pattern? Is she like Genevieve, and from the novel Genevieve, of course, and she sees herself in a particular way. Genevieve always tries to talk on this level. Is she this educated? But she likes to talk like this. You know what I mean? You can never get it wrong, because someone's going to relate to it, and it's going to remind someone of someone. But in some way, trying to create the character and have her, at least for me, she feels unique. So like when I created Jackie, it's a combination of things. It's like, okay, I've never written this character before. This is not Shelby, this is not Genevieve, this is not Arizona. This is someone totally different. And then the same thing with the man from Orange County, the guy in the suit. Just bring together bits and pieces. He's from because she's from She lives in LA, but she was born abroad, I do believe, in the story. Pardon me that I forgot that little detail. Yeah, right. And yeah. No, it's so funny because a lot of stuff I will say, friends would say if I have the newspaper on one side and I'm doing this, and then there's something going on in Japan. I was like, okay, she was born in Japan. How did she end up being born in Japan? And now she lives in Southern California. You know what I mean? So it's something like this. So, okay, she was born in Japan. How long was she there? Does she speak Japanese? You know what I mean? So I may have her do something like, she's hip and this, that, and the other. I'm just making this up. And then she comes here, and then she's walking through Japantown with her friends, and then she just starts speaking Japanese. Oh, whoa, where'd that come from? We didn't know you could do that. And now we see her differently. You know what I mean? Because every time you do something, you see the character differently. You know what I mean? I was, where was I? I was somewhere, just hanging out with some homies and just talking crazy as I do when I'm with my friends. And then some people came up who were speaking Spanish, and I started speaking to them in Spanish. It wasn't my friends, it was other people who saw me speaking Spanish. They're like, okay, we thought he was, maybe this dude is Dominican because, the people are like, where are you from? Memphis. You speak Spanish? Wow, You know what I mean? It's just, so now what happens is I'm hanging with my homie, we're talking pretty much on a street level, not person or anything, but just we're familiar with each other, And then someone walks up and I start speaking, and they're like, oh, maybe he's smarter than he looks. That kind of, you know what I mean? It's that thing, yeah. And I've had a lot of stuff. Well, like for example, when I was in London, they have an issue with Nigerians, And I was in line to get on a plane. I was pulled out of the line, and it was funny because I'm used to that here. Well, this is a line of white people. I'm the only brother in line.
Did you have your dreads?
Yes, I had my dreads. They probably thought I was from Jamaica. And then and they were doing this random whatever. So he pulled me out of line, gets my passport. They look at, oh, it's American. You can get back in line. I was like, what was that about? Again, they thought I was African.
Yeah.
Right. I was like, wow. So everywhere, you kind of. So again, I'm American, not African American. Because when you're abroad, you're just called American.
Yeah.
And I gotta go because I was American. I wish I got that in America. I'm just saying, I was like, I gotta leave here. Really get that? Right. It's like, oh, he's American, let him go. I mean, it was a whole different, like, wow, I was special. So you know what I'm saying? So as I'm creating characters, I just add bits and pieces, and hopefully it's the right combination of something. If something's a little bit off, I try to adjust it before the book comes out. Because it's amazing. You can just do one little thing and people don't like a character. Mm-hmm. Like, it's just simple stuff. Real stuff. Like you can give a character a gap in the teeth. Oh, I don't like that person for that. Really? And people, readers don't like it. People liked it. I gave one character acne, and people didn't like her. I'm like, but you have acne. What happened? I hit too close to home. What happened here? Really? And I would think like, oh, that's just such a common thing. Everyone doesn't have that perfect skin, But yeah, height, weight. And then African American, depending on the complexion, I would get issues with that. Because at one point I said, you know what? Everyone's just brown. Everybody brown. That's it. Everybody. Whatever brown is to you, everybody's brown.
Oh yeah.
No, I'm serious. I did an event, and this girl comes up. I never get light-skinned girl. I said it because she was a light-skinned girl, and she comes up and she says, was that one? No. Yes, it was a light-skinned girl. She said, she was angry because in Friends and Lovers, she thought that the dark-skinned girl had the more exciting job. I'm serious. And she went off about it, and I said, the girl behind you came with your best friend, she's dark-skinned, right? And she looked at her like she had never realized that. And she started apologizing to her friend. I'm like, y'all got some issues. I'm serious. It's that what? That's why like some stuff I kept away from the sorority thing, because I can mention a sorority, and then if the character not representing the sorority, hey, look, does something, now the whole sorority is mad at me. So I'll keep away. So certain stuff I've just kept away. I would say she's in a sorority, but I would not be specific, and I would not throw out any colors. I'm serious, because what was it? Friends and Lovers Again. I think I said that Shelby was AKA. I think Pink and Green. I think I said AKA. I think I did. So now the Deltas don't like the book because I'm serious. I mean, I had a girl come up and say, well, she could have been a Delta. I was like, I just picked random. It's just nothing. Then the Zetas came up and said, oh, you haven't written about a Zeta. I said, you know what? No more sororities. Nobody plays anything ever. No, really. I mean, it's just stuff like that you don't really see. You know what I mean? So yeah, because people are sensitive and and you'll find yourself apologizing for something you had no idea that like, well, I had no idea that bothered you, that a character was a flight attendant and flew around the world and her job is low pay. But yeah, it's like, but she had the most exciting job. Yeah, I mean, it was, that's just part of stuff you just kind of learn. Because when I start out, you're writing stuff. Again, as I said before, you're in your small room. Wherever your office is, for me, it was a small room in Pomona. You don't really see it going out into the world and how people will read it and going to interpret it and react and respond to things. You know what I mean? It's just interesting. Yeah, I get to meet the world, and see how they think and respond and stuff. And the ones who really respond are the ones who are not in your face in their own mind. They write a whole lot of nasty stuff, boy. Like, they write good stuff, but it's like, and then you try to email them back, and they've like canceled their email account. That's all I had. Okay, a couple more questions. I'll be done. Yes, ma'am. You want you? Go ahead.
It's me. I forgot.
No problem.
No. I've actually followed your career for a long time. I'm not going to ask you for a job, but I mean, I think you're just an amazing writer.
Thank you.
Incredibly smart.
Thank you.
And I was saying earlier that I started reading your books like in the 90s.
I'm going to let you get to that. It's like, and I would get people who would hit me for vocabulary. They would say, you use big words, right? And I was like, so what word was it? Endure. I'm serious. No, I'm serious. I can use a simpler word. No, I'm serious. I mean, people would.
No, I believe you.
Yeah.
And I, in fact, and when you were talking about how your books, people will, that's my sister on the end. That's my sister, but that's my sister on the end here.
Okay.
And you had a book, and I can't remember which one. You had a red and a black. Do you remember the sisters? One was red and black. Yeah. And she said, you
red, brown, and black. Right.
And we see you in the city. We said,
okay.
You wrote about us.
Yeah.
That wasn't my question. My question is this. I think that for African American authors, you have actually really, for me, probably all those big words you use, but you seem to have an endurance and you've like transcended. Did you have to like change your writing style, or is it because you kind of became, to me, for like, I took a little hiatus because I was trying to walk with the Lord.
No. So are my characters.
Then I got older and I needed more excitement.
Yeah.
I want to live vicariously through me and Simone Bijou.
Okay, gotcha.
And but you like sometimes I will like read your most like the last maybe 6 books, and I can be like halfway through and I don't even know what nationality the person is.
Okay.
So, and that's a good thing.
Yeah, no, that's intentional.
Do you think that contributes in part to, you mentioned a woman in Russia, because I would imagine you have a lot of international success as well as domestic.
Not really. I mean, it's sort of like African American movies. You don't really cross over like that. I mean, I know like Grisham, Rollins, they are translated into more languages that I didn't even know existed in the world. You know what I mean? So you just don't get that sort of. It's still that issue with African American writers, African American, in my opinion. It's still the same. Yeah, it's still.
See, I don't see
it's
that
still the same
with
thing.
your writing though.
Yeah, but still, this is what happens though. So even if I have those characters like that, when they flip over in the back, it's a brown face on it. So for a lot of people, it's sort of like the way you feel. You're already rejected before you get in. You know what I mean? I don't have a particular look. I mean, that's my feel on it. That's my feel on it. You know, I've asked because I've seen other people who are translated into other stuff. Hey, can we see if I can get translated into these other languages? We can't even find the door to knock on it. You know what I mean? So okay, all right, I get it. I mean, honestly, that's sort of the way it is. You know, I mean, even stuff like I would even like say like a couple of books translated in Spanish, and I would even go so far as to say we could take Friends and Lovers, same story, give it Latin characters. You know what I mean? Change location, same story. I mean, still the same story, and try to sell it into the Latin market. Because again, this is business. You know what I mean? And try to, at least try to open the door into the Latin market. You know, you can change the names, do this, have someone who is proficient in Spanish, take it, shape it, same story, same twist, and it would apply because what happens in the story is very human. The stuff that happens in it is very human, you know. It's just for some, I think that once they start to read and it has a brown face, it belongs in a certain place. I mean, it's just kind of the feel I get, you know what I mean? It's funny. It wasn't until I went to Paris. Here I remember with the publisher, it was, they would say, all the stuff that they put out, they would say African American writer, and then they'd have my picture on the back of the book. And I said, isn't that redundant? Not really. That's what I was like. My picture, you have to say it. I mean, so at what point do I get to just be a writer? Does it ever happen? And, see, again, and I came from aerospace, and you guys, when you work in corporate America, it's always that feel of there's no color here. We're just people. I mean, that's the. But when I got into publishing, real quick, no, you're black. No, really, I mean, that's how it was. It was, you're black, and this is the marketing you get. This is you get. And I was actually in my, I was in New York in my publicist's office one year. I'll never forget this. And she says, and we're talking, we can't get any publicity for you. It's just really hard to get publicity right now, and blah, 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 blah. And her phone rings, right? And it's like Jay Leno. I mean, no, it's like the Tonight Show. Oh, sure, we can get him on your show. Sure. Yeah, like we said, Eric, there's just no publicity. I mean, you've got this other writer on. And I'm like, wow, you just did that right in my face as if when you picked up the phone, I went deaf. But so you kind of get it. There's nothing for you. There's something for other people. So you're not going to be on the Tonight Show, this, that, and the other, at that moment, But if I stick around, if I stay in the business, if I keep getting products like this and a wonderful audience like this, I'll get over the bump. I'll get over the bump at some point. It's for some people it's a sprint, and for some people it's a marathon.
Right. If you read it, people get curious.
Yeah.
And they say, "What are you reading?" And then you start telling them about it.
Yeah.
And they actually, that's the advantage of buying hardbacks or
book,
paper
yes.
book rather than buying an e-book.
Yeah. I talked to a couple of days ago. I was having a conversation with another guy. I said that's the difference. I said because then when people carry your book, they're advertising for you, letting people know. Now it's if they see you reading on the device, you're advertising the iPad. Oh, that's a nice device. I have to get one of those. How many books you have on there? It's totally different. And now we see people who are out. We have no idea what they're doing. We don't know what they're reading. So it's sort of like they've blocked us out of.
Yeah, that's a good point. I really didn't think about that. It's a very good point.
Yeah, because I remember and this is the last thing. Remember I did one event, and it was another writer who was on stage, and they were reading from their device. And when they came off stage, I said, "You did a great job advertising that iPad. So hold your book, read from your book. You're selling your book. You're not trying to show how technologically advanced, savvy you are. hold your book, read your book, let people, you know what I mean? Yeah, you know, but, or at least, you know, well, because for me, I prefer to read from the book as opposed to, you know, the device, because iPad, you know, I don't want you, you know, oh, that's nice, I'm going to get an iPad right now. Oh yeah, he had a book. Yeah. Anyway, anything else? Yes, ma'am.
I have a question about your writing process. Because listen to the story you just read. Do you do storyboards and say, okay, you've created this, you've done this writing for, let's say, chapter number 1, you say, then you get to chapter number 5 and you think, no, I think I want to move that idea to 5 and move that here. How do you, or does it just, when you are creating, does it change?
Yeah, it's fluid. It changes. I mean, I may go through some conversation that they've had. Excuse me, and I'll think that this fits better here, or well, and to be honest, I'll have some stuff. I'll say maybe this is better as pillow talk, because what it is, I have them talk about something odd at an interesting moment. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? Because so that, you know what I mean. So yeah, because I'll have stuff, and so for every conversation, there's a lot of dialogue in the book. I wanted it to flow, and which is why the editor, copy editor, everyone else is so important. I need another set of eyes, you know what I mean, to see what works, where you get bored, if you get bored, you know what I mean. So because I know what boredom means. That means I didn't do my job as a communicator. You know what I mean? Because writing is communication. You know what I mean? Right. So if I didn't communicate effectively, again, because you know, with experience and classes and seminars for myself, I know how to go in and fix it. Okay. You know what I mean? There was a rule that said, what was it? When things get boring, that's when the man with the gun enters the room. And that's a metaphor. That can be a metaphor. So basically, if things start to slow down, something needs to happen. Right. You know what I mean? I mean, just something. You know, I mean, I have car crashes, people getting robbed at 7-Eleven, just, you know what I mean? So we've done this, we're in a particular, now we are interrupted, they are constantly interrupted through the night by something, you know, an event, someone's banging on the door, the people next door, so it's the sirens, it's a very, very noisy book until they get to moments where it gets silent. And then when it gets silent, it's real, it's a real telling moment, you know, if you will, you know, yeah. But yeah, but I will flowchart, usually I'll flowchart no more than 3 chapters out. Okay. And it's just action. I'll say, I want this to happen, I need this to happen. It's just like, I need this to happen in this chapter. I need this to happen in this chapter. Okay. And then I sit down and write it. Okay. You know what I mean? Because I know where I'm trying to go. And then I'll get to, for me, I call it my first 100 pages. When I get to page 100, I have everything I need to complete the novel. I know what the story is about. I have all the major characters. If they haven't come on page, I foreshadow who's going to appear later on. So no one just shows up in the 3rd act and you haven't heard of them. Anyone read, I promise I'm finished. Anyone read The Other Woman? And then now The Other Woman. Okay, a while ago. You may not remember, but there was a character, David Lawrence, his wife Jessica. She doesn't show up until the 3rd act. But what I did was, in the 1st act, David's an artist. There are pictures of Jessica all over the place. So I describe her. There's a phone call, you hear her voice. And then when she finally appears, you feel as if she's been in the novel the whole time. But she doesn't physically, she doesn't show up until the 3rd act. She only has a couple of scenes, but you feel as if she's been in the novel the entire time. So it's little stuff like that that makes a difference, you know what I mean? And those are rules that work for me. It's like I have my rules that work for me, you know, so I'd never do that. Because I know I've read other novels, and they get to the 3rd act, and then all of a sudden people start appearing, and I'm like, okay, where did this come from? Where did this person, yeah, right, you know, all of a sudden Cousin Arnold shows up, and you've never mentioned, you go back, no one has talked about, you know, and there's two ways to, well, there's another way of characterizing someone. You know how, like they say, like, well, don't go over there because Leroy Brown lives over there. Who's the, oh, Leon, he's the baddest dude in the whole town, man. You ain't heard about him? He's standing about 6 feet tall. You know, so you don't see him, but we've set him up. So when he shows up, so when dude turns around, he bumps, he's like, oh, I thought I ran into a brick wall. I looked up and this dude is about 6 foot tall. And I go, Leroy Brown? Yeah. You know? Yeah, so I mean, it's stuff like that. So the reader's like, we've expected this guy, you know. But okay, again, I think, yeah, we're over time. Anyway, thanks everyone for coming out. I appreciate it.